good afternoon, or I guess it's good morning to most of us here, everyone. And thank you for joining us today. We're excited to have everybody here and make the most of today. As most of you know, my name is Darren Dixon. I'm the founder and CEO of fyxify. And the reason that we wanted to bring you in today was because we wanted to go through and help you guys be prepared for some of the changes that are coming up in the very near future, so that your business operations are sound and you understand how fyxify is organizing itself to be able to support these upcoming changes. So today we're going to cover the upcoming DOE regulatory changes and the immediate impacts, and then some of the additional government regulations that are coming out. And as I said before, how we are working on this side of things with technology to make sure that we can help facilitate these changes in the most efficient way. So what are the changes that are coming up, and what is it that you should be paying attention to, and what is it that you can expect? So let's start here. On January 1st, there are significant regulations to the energy efficiency standards and the changes that are going on there. So the Department of Energy evaluates appliances, which we fit into the appliance category, every 6 years to determine whether or not the minimum efficiency requirements and the testing standards warrant a change. So the DOE has identified that the inefficiencies of commercial and residential units are a major contributor to the climate crisis, which ultimately also leads to the energy crisis. So the energy crisis and the climate crisis are ultimately tied to each other. And so in response to that, they have a multi-phase policy that's being, standards policy that's being developed, and it's not new. It's actually been going on for quite some time. But now we're starting to see the time in which it's going to be required to see major changes in the production of high efficiency systems. So back in 2018, the first set of these regulations went into effect. They call it phase one. It was ultimately where energy efficiency increases were going to be required on all systems by about 15%. Now phase two, which starts on January 2023, pushes the minimum efficiencies for central ACs and heat pumps up to 30%, which is an additional 15% or 100% change, and the testing procedures are going to change as well. So let's think about what that means. Not only does the minimum efficiency go up, but the testing procedures to establish what those efficiencies are is changing and going up as well. And here's how it looks. So in regard to the residential air conditioning and heating changes, the DOE has separated the country basically into three regions. You've got the North region, the South region, and the Southwest region, and you can see it noted here on this map in which region you fit into. So while it does vary by different regions, all of the regions are increasing by an equivalent of 1 SEER rating in 2023, which will result in a lower amount of electricity being used for the same amount of cooling. So, but let's talk about 1 SEER rating. So 1 SEER rating with new standards actually equates to more than just 1 SEER rating by today's standards. So the sell-through of existing systems are going to be allowed in the North if the product was manufactured prior to January 1st, 2023. So let's talk about it again. Sell-through, and what does that mean? It means the percentage of a product that is sold by a retailer after being shipped by its supplier. So the sell-through date of existing systems will be allowed in the North region if the product was manufactured prior to January 1st, 2023. However, this is not the case in the South and the Southwest. Systems must comply with the 2023 federal minimums to be installed after January 1st, 2023. So it doesn't matter how much you've got, it doesn't matter how much you've bought, it doesn't matter if you have it in inventory. If you're in the South or the Southwest and you install any system as of January 1st, 2023, it has to comply. So let's talk first about what the North region's regulations are. All HVAC systems installed in the North region are determined SEER 2 compliant based on each system's manufactured date. So the new SEER rating is called SEER 2. In the North region, the system requirements are as follows. For contractors in the North, compliance is determined by each system's manufactured date. This allows ample time to sell out 13 SEER inventory. So if you're up in the North region, you can still continue to sell through anything that was manufactured prior to January 1st, 2023. Now, to meet the SEER 2 requirements in the North region, residential central air conditioning systems below 45,000 BTU must have a SEER 2 rating of 13.4, or what would today be 14 SEER. Residential central air systems of 45,000 BTU and above must have a SEER 2 rating of 13.4 SEER as well. Now, in addition, heat pumps in any region must meet 14.3 SEER 2, which is the equivalent of 15 SEER today, at a minimum of 7.5 HSPF 2, which is a minimum of 8.8 HSPF requirement today. So if you take a look at this chart, you can see that on an AC, the SEER 2 13.4 equates to a 14 SEER system, which again, we're talking about the north. Heat pump, 15 SEER minimum in today's equations, and then you can see the HSPF is 8.8, 7.5 equates to 8.8 today, and that's the way that works for the north. Now let's go and take a look at some of the AC system standards. In the north region, any 13 SEER AC built before January 2023 can be installed on or after January 2023, but this is the standard breakdown. You may want, and we'll send out this information to you if you want to be able to have a copy of this presentation. But as of January 1st, 2023, you will continue to be able to sell any product that has been manufactured prior to January 1st. The heat pump standards, again, existing 14 SEER heat pumps built prior to January 2023 may still be sold and installed on or after January 1st, but this is the table for the breakdown. So this is what you're going to see is there's going to be significant amounts of inventory challenges as we start to lead towards the end of the year. So on single package unit standards for the north region, the current SEER ratings of single package units are 14 SEER and 8.0 HSPF. These will remain the same despite other regulatory changes. However, these units will still need to adhere to the new testing measure and meet the SEER 2 rating requirements of 13.4 SEER 2 and 6.7 HSPF. So what does that mean? Ultimately, package units are not really being affected too significantly. Now, bigger challenges down in the south region. Let's talk about the south region. All HVAC systems purchased in the south and southeast regions that do not meet the SEER 2 requirements cannot be installed after January 1st, 2023. So in the south region, the requirements look like this. To meet the SEER 2 requirement in the south and the southeast region, residential central air systems below 45,000 BTU must have a SEER 2 rating of 14.3, which is the equivalent of 15 SEER today. Residential central air systems of 45,000 BTU and above must have a SEER 2 rating of 13.8 or a 14.5 SEER. So as you're looking at your 4 and your 5 ton units, that will be a little bit different. In addition, your heat pumps in any region must be 15 SEER, equivalent of 15 SEER today, and the equivalent of at least 8.8 HSPF requirements. Now, I know you're saying to yourself, well, that's not that big of a deal because, you know, in reality, that like a 15 SEER, big deal. So from a 14 SEER to a 15 SEER in the south, but there's more to this. And that's how it's actually going to affect the manufacturers and the way that the manufacturers are actually, what kind of equipment can achieve this rating, because they are actually increasing the stringent nature in the way that AHRI ratings are given to systems. So in the southeast and the southwest regions, any AC system that does not meet the SEER 2 requirements cannot be installed on or after January 1st. Okay, so again, if it's a split system, 45,000 below, 14.3 SEER 2, 45,000 and above, 13.8 SEER 2. So 15 or 14.5 by today's standards. Now, in the south region, the heat pump standards, again, anything that is built prior to January 1st may still be sold and installed on or after January 1st, but you can see, because heat pumps are kind of really a little bit of a different standard, the new SEER and HSPF 15 SEER 8.8, or the, according to SEER 2, would be 14.3 and 7.5. Okay, so that's in the south region. Package units in the South region, the current SEER ratings for package units are 14 SEER and 8.0 HSPF. These will remain the same despite other regulatory changes. However, these units have to now adhere to the new testing measures, which meet SEER 2 rating requirements of 13.4 and 6.7. So ultimately what happens is the manufacturers are ultimately retooling and having to rebuild equipment because an existing 14 SEER package unit today will not meet the new regulatory efficiency standard testing measures. So I know that sounds a little confusing, but if you think about it this way, in a testing environment in a factory, the SEER rating is given to a piece of equipment in a testing environment with basically no static pressure. 0.1, I believe, is the static pressure. So it's almost no static pressure. It's practically free blowing. They are moving the testing up to 0.5. So what that means is basically all of the equipment is going to be changing because none of the equipment that's been manufactured today, I mean, almost none of the equipment that's being manufactured today meets those standards. Now, I will tell you that in a recent meeting that I was in with Goodman explained it this way. The only equipment that they have that by today's standards, because of the new testing measures and everything, that would be meeting these guidelines would be equipment that is above 17 SEER. So don't get confused and think to yourself, oh, well, it's just one SEER rating change by today's standards. It's not. It's actually the equivalent of what it would take to build and purchase a 17 SEER system. So the minimum efficiency is really moving up to what today by the Daikin Goodman Amana product brand is a 17 SEER. So what does that mean? It means a lot of changes as it relates to the engineering of the products. And we'll talk about that a little bit more as we go on. In the Southwest region regulations, all HVAC systems purchased in the Southwest region that do not meet SEER 2 cannot be installed after January 1st, 2023. So in the Southwest region, to meet SEER 2 requirements, residential central air conditioning systems below 45,000 BTU must have a SEER 2 rating of 14.3, which is equivalent to a 15 SEER today, and 11.7 EER, or which is equivalent to a 12.2 EER by today's standards. Residential central systems 45,000 and above must have a SEER rating of SEER 2 rating of 13.8, which is like a 14.5 SEER, and 11.2 EER, which is equivalent to 11.7 today. So in addition, heat pumps in any region continue to have to meet all the same requirements. So as you can see, heat pumps across the board all have to be the same, equivalent to a minimum of 15 SEER today and a minimum of an 8.8 HSPF requirement. In the Southwest and the Southeast and the Southwest regions, again, any piece of equipment any piece of AC equipment that does not meet these SEER 2 requirements cannot be installed on or after January 2023. So plan accordingly. The heat pump standards in the Southwest, existing 14 SEER heat pumps built prior to January 1st may still be installed on or after January 1st, 2023. Southwest region package units, a single package unit are 14 SEER and 8.0 HSPF. These remain the same despite all the other changes. So it's important to note that the 2023 requirements only apply to new systems, and existing systems will not need to be replaced if they are already installed and still functioning. However, you will no longer have the ability to replace just a heating or cooling system. If there is a failure of either appliance, the entire unit will require replacement or it will not meet the standard. So think about this. This is a massive change. You know, we've had many questions from people going, well, why isn't fyxify designed to just sell an AC and a coil, or why isn't it designed to just sell a furnace? It's because we already know that these changes are coming, and we're trying to help you get used to the way that the new changes are going to be impacting your business now, as opposed to building and engineering a system that is going to be obsolete in a very short period of time. So there's also some very important record keeping requirements coming. Effective all the way back to August 15th of 2017, records were supposed to be being maintained by installing contractors for the installation of central air conditioners in the South and Southwest and single package air conditioners in the Southwest with the following information. On a split system central air conditioning system, you have to have this information for the outdoor and the indoor unit: manufacturer, model number, serial number, date the unit was purchased, contact information from who it was purchased, date the unit was sold, the contact information of the purchaser, and then the installation address. All that information is not that complicated. Probably a little bit different on the date that the unit was purchased and from whom the unit was purchased by, like what dealer, but nonetheless still not that complicated piece of information. On a single package air conditioner, it's pretty much all the same pieces of information: the manufacturer, the model number, the serial number, all the other same information, except it's only one piece of equipment and not two. Okay. What happens if my business is not in compliance? So you might say to yourself, okay, so what if I decide I'm just going to kind of wing it? Well, as with previous standards, penalties will be implemented for non-compliance with the 2023 efficiency standards. For contractors, this includes significant penalties: potential loss of licensing, out-of-pocket equipment replacement, and heavy fines for those caught selling or installing non-compliant equipment. Now you say to yourself, yeah, but what's the reality of really being able to get caught? Well, what they're doing is they're now encouraging whistleblowers. So if you have a competitor in the marketplace, or you have that nosy neighbor that's over there that is just looking, over your shoulder, they will now be incentivized to blow the whistle on you, which means that that they can turn around and turn you in, and you are going to have the potential of being fined thousands of dollars for every day that system has been installed between when it didn't meet the standard. So let's just say it had been there 30 days. You have the potential to have tens of thousands of dollars of fines, and you have to then turn around and replace the system with a qualifying system at your own expense. Even more, if there's a disgruntled customer, which hopefully we're not maintaining any disgruntled customers, they can now turn you in. The consumer's experience is now, as you can see, more important than ever. Let me go back and let me just add a little bit more of information to this. So if you think about this, the penalties that are actually being put together, the situation is kind of a little bit worse even than you think. So they can come back and they can penalize a contractor at one level, right? But up to and including, they can remove your license and your ability to buy refrigerant containing equipment forever, right? Forever. So that means you lose your license, you lose your ability to buy refrigerant equipment with refrigerant, and that's forever. You can't just go and wait out some time period and do it again. But they're doing the same thing to distributors and to manufacturers. So, for instance, if they find that a piece of equipment was sold and installed, and remember the record keeping that you have to maintain, they can go back to that record keeping. They can look at when you bought it, who you bought it from, go to the dealer, and they can say to the dealer, did you guys sold this equipment to them? And ultimately, they can do the same thing to the dealer. So there's a 3 strike you're out rule with the dealerships. So, or excuse me, with the distributor. If you're a distributor and this happens 3 times, they can lose their ability to sell equipment with refrigerant forever. Guess what? It then rolls up to the manufacturer, and it says if a manufacturer knowingly distributes equipment to or sells equipment to a distributor that has this issue, the manufacturer can lose their ability to manufacture products with refrigerant forever. Okay, they're not messing around here, guys. This is going to be enforced, and the reason it's happening is because our industry has been known for messing around and trying to skirt around the rules for far too long. It's just a fact. And so what the manufacturer and the distributor is doing is they've made a rule that now says they will not be selling any partial systems. If you want to try to go to buy a furnace by itself for an air conditioning coil, not going to be able to happen. You want to go try to buy an air conditioning coil, to match up to just go with a furnace, unless that combined system all meets up to the new regulations and standards, it's not going to happen. When you start talking about furnaces, they're starting to now look at the same kind of regulations that they're putting on the furnace. It's not just on the air conditioning and the coil. So literally, partial systems are going to become a thing of the past. Now, in addition to all of this, there is a refrigerant phase out. And the HVACR industry is now on the cusp of another refrigerant phase down. R410 is scheduled for elimination from all new systems being manufactured in 2023. The refrigerant transition is complicated by the fact that it's occurring on a state-by-state basis. So the timing and the requirements may not be consistent depending on the contractor's location, which leads to even more complexity and confusion. So, how ultimately will the phase out affect daily operations? So here's the way that it works. Equipment designed for A2L refrigerants will likely now have new embedded sensors and controls. Management of proliferation of refrigerant options will be needed. So there's now a need to comply with storage and transportation requirements of refrigerant systems and components. And contractors will need to ensure the safety of who its employees are that are handling the refrigerants, along with potentially having to provide an explanation of the system changes to consumers. So they're just tightening it down, and with technology and all the things that they can now do with technology, they're absolutely making this very, very difficult to try to get around. There's actually another really big issue that's going on right now. And the fact is that you say to yourself, okay, well, fine, so they're going to phase out, R410, and that's not that different than when they phased out R22. Well, that's not actually true. So R22, they could still continue to manufacture R22 for a certain period of time. They just couldn't build systems that had R22. With the phase out of R410, the entire situation is being phased out. So is being eliminated. But there's a bigger issue. The amount of R410 that comes back in for recycling compared to what goes out is like 5% or less. There is nearly no R410 available. This is going to have a massive impact on our industry. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens, because the idea that, okay, we can't manufacture R410 anymore, but there's millions and millions of pounds of it that are in circulation just because of recycling, absolutely not true. So what's going to happen now when systems that are installed in consumers' homes that have R410A have problems with refrigerant, and there is no more refrigerant available? Not only will you see the skyrocketing cost of R410, but also, and more importantly, just the lack of availability. So in relation to inventory plans, why is it not as simple as just recovering and recycling and then making sure we have enough 410 on hand for service needs? Like I said, historically, refrigerant transitions have led to an increased push for replacement ahead of the transition and an increased replacement market post-transition. This is caused by an increased cost of the systems and the unknowns of the new refrigerant. There will likely be two refrigerants replacing R410A. On half the industry is going with R32, and the other half of the industry is going with R454B, which means that distributors and wholesalers are going to be able to basically specify certain brands based on which kinds of refrigerant that they prefer. But contractors will have to be able to maintain and carry both types of refrigerants. And in some states, we might even see requirements for the use of reclaimed refrigerant for service as a requirement. Plus, more government regulations are on the horizon. Let's talk about past legislation. On 6/6 of 22 was the Defense Production Act and the proposed legislation for the Icy Hot Act and the Heater Act. The Defense Production Act, or the DPA, the DPA invocation will boost American production of the critical technologies necessary to lower energy costs and support the clean energy economy and strengthen national security. What does this mean? Buying less from out of the country. According to the Department of Energy, our nation's buildings, homes, offices, schools, hospitals, military bases, and other critical facilities drive more than 40% of all U.S. energy consumption. to reduce the amount of energy needed in our buildings, leading to less reliance by the US and its allies on adversaries such as Russia for oil and gas. Heat pumps are an important solution. Their use by the US and allies can shrink Russian revenue for war and reduce climate instability. So all of this political stuff that we see going on around the world is directly impacting the industry that we are in. So what does it mean? Non-condensing indoor gas furnaces would be phased out beginning in 2029 under a plan announced June 13th by the Biden administration. The proposal from the Department of Energy, if adopted, would require new non-weatherized gas furnaces to have an annual fuel utilization efficiency of a minimum of 90%, meaning that they would have to produce at least 95 BTU for every 100 BTU of natural gas consumed. That would ban non-condensing furnaces, which currently must be at a minimum of 80% AFUE. And it's intended to steer consumers towards more efficient technology like the use of condensing furnaces, which capture additional heat from exhausted gases. So, as you can see, continued changes driving up the average cost for a homeowner to be able to replace and maintain their heating and cooling systems. So what is this significance? Gas furnaces today account for an estimated 15% of annual residential energy use in the US. According to figures from the Census Bureau, more than 47 million homes, that's more than 38% of all the homes in the country, are heated with warm air natural gas furnaces, and we're going to see a massive phase out of those systems. However, some of the proposed legislative acts are intended to incentivize high efficiency replacements. The Icy Hot Act of 2022, installing clean, efficient energy, hastens our transition, is our next topic. This legislation will reduce residential building greenhouse gas emissions and increase energy security by incentivizing electric HVAC equipment, water heating, and other home appliances across the supply chain. Currently, 7% of greenhouse gas emissions come from residential buildings that are using fossil fuels for space heating, water heating, space cooling, and contribute to 35% of overall residential emissions. This legislation will not only transform the heat pump market, encourage home electrification, and improve grid reliability, but lower equipment costs for consumers. The Icy Hot Act expands the state energy efficiency appliance rebate program by offering mid and upstream rebates for heating, ventilation, air conditioning equipment, water heating, and other building electrification products. This legislation will offer benefits to stakeholders across the supply chain in the following ways: upstream rebates that will support original equipment manufacturers. Midstream incentives will encourage distributors to provide zero-emission home heating systems when residents need to replace them suddenly, and rebates will be available for building electrification products such as residential air source heat pumps, cold climate heat pumps, heat pump water heaters, heat pump clothes dryers, induction or non-induction electric stoves, and smart panels. And finally, the cost benefits will reach residents and homeowners. Let's talk about the Heater Act of 2022. The Heating Efficiency and Affordability Tax Relief Act proposes incentives for manufacturers to increase production of heat pumps and phase out production of inefficient, non-condensing air conditioners. By supplementing traditional home heating with heat pumps offers noteworthy climate and economic benefits. The average household can cut fossil fuel use by 39% when running a heat pump above 41 degrees and save $154 per year in operating costs. So what are we talking about? Dual fuel systems. In early May, Senator Amy Klobuchar, that's hard, Klobuchar, sorry Amy if that's not how you say it, Amy Klobuchar introduced the Heating Efficiency and Affordability Tax Relief Act, HEATER. The bill aims to establish upstream incentives for manufacturers to transition production to heat pumps, resulting in lower upfront costs to consumers and accelerated deployment of the super efficient technology. This bill will allow taxpayers a tax credit through 2031. So if you can see the future here, you can start to see how it starts to shape up. What are some of the impacts though that we have on installation processes when there's no longer gas being installed in the home? there's going to be a big push for electrical services. So keep your eyes open and start planning yourself. If you don't already have an electrical department, now's the time to start thinking about the implementation of an electrical department within your own business. The ability to get wire pull done on a furnace that needs to have 220 volts to run a heat pump is going to be astronomical if you have to go outside and try to use third-party contractors. So how do you repair? Well, I just mentioned one way. As a contractor, it's important to prepare for these changes by making sure that you're aware of the different federal minimum efficiency levels and the compliance requirements across all regions. As 2023 approaches, you can prepare your team for the new efficiency requirements by learning the standards and metrics for your region and the new technology specifics. And this is the first step. So what does it mean for new installations? The second and most important step is effectively communicating these requirements to your team. Teaching how to effectively communicate new energy efficiency requirements to the consumers and making sure that each repair and replacement is streamlined and consistent to ensure compliance. You must ensure that each customer experience is a consistently high quality interaction that ensures the greatest customer satisfaction. If you aren't already doing this, what do? Well, the solution is actually the key to increased profitability, overcoming inconsistencies in the field, streamlining price books for technician compliance, be able to quickly and effectively calculate energy consumption and efficiency needs and explain this to the consumer in a way that is highly communicated, is highly effective in the communication and allows for the consumer to understand the opportunity to be able to invest in and retain and install high efficiency equipment in their homes. Mass communication when needed and compliance oversight will be a requirement. So change presents the opportunity for innovation, reinvention, and improvement. And now you understand why the foresight that we've used and the way that we've designed fyxify has been what it is. The portal platform provides the solution to help you operate your business this way. In the consumer app, it all starts with the consumer experience. Everything we've designed about the consumer experience and the way that it communicates with the customers has been to prepare for the changes that are coming. The ability to effectively communicate to the consumer energy efficiency opportunities, as well as couple in buying opportunities with the use of financing and other tools that are built into the process to automate the consistency and the way that the consumer understands changes. We create in-field consistency by taking processes in which the technicians are walked through a process that adds consistency to the way that information is being shared with the customer. With the checklist for every piece of equipment at every location, the technician now continuously stays consistent in their approach during the diagnosis, ensuring that non-compliant equipment recommendations will not be made. Plus, Allie always makes sure the homeowner knows what information is important, together with both the technician and Allie, helping to make sure that the homeowner has a consistent and compliant experience. With our one-of-a-kind pricing tool, the technician or the salesman is no longer required to create matchups in the field that inevitably lead to human error. Instead, the office is able to control the product offering and pricing to ensure that every unit is within compliance with all regulations and eliminate human error potential in this crucial area, while also providing you all of the information that you're going to need to be able to provide for record keeping should you be asked. I will also tell you that I'll go off script for a minute and let you know that we are in the midst of a very significant integration with a large organization that is going to allow us to give you e-procurement, meaning that your price books will be able to be streamlined with only compliant equipment should you desire. Well, it'll only be compliant, obviously, but in an automated way, as well as only present opportunities for replacements to consumer on available compliant equipment. Listen to what I'm saying. Available compliant equipment. The availability is a huge issue. If you're in this industry, if you're in the home service business and the HVAC replacement business, you know what I'm talking about. You've had many experiences in which you've had a difficult time getting equipment that you had originally planned for, and we're making the arrangements so that Fixify, when these regulations and requirements are enacted, that you'll have a compliant methodology in which Fixify will be helping you streamline and operate that business. Streamlining the price books, again, the office controls the parts and the service options available for the techs through a assisted API-driven process, which eliminates the potential for human error and offering options outside of the compliance and the new regulations. On calculating energy consumption, our proprietary smart technology automatically calculates energy consumption, showing the technician and the consumer the current state of their equipment, and if a replacement is needed or recommended, what high efficiency equipment is the best fit and the highest efficiency and the lowest cost of ownership. Our system provides multiple reports for the homeowner to review their current energy consumption versus a newer and more efficient option, demonstrating the savings numbers of a new installation equaling a net true cost of ownership of higher efficiency units. These reports allow communication about the replacement system's greater efficiency and communicate these benefits as well as the cost savings to the consumer. Take the sales discomfort out of the service experience for the technician and ensure each communication reflects compliance. Back to record keeping. Having a complete history of every sale, every service interaction with every customer, detailing service, replacement, and equipment information maintains your compliant record standard. Setting invoice compliance language. Hardy is advising members that a key compliance strategy will be the continued education of customers and employees. Some companies have taken the additional step of including compliance language on packing slips or invoices among the versions they've seen. By accepting this product, I agree that it will be installed in accordance with all local, state, and federal requirements. Or this product may be subject to new regional efficiency standards. Please refer to the energy guide label or the URL to ensure compliance. Or by accepting this product, I agree that Fixify has informed me of any restrictions regarding installation requirements of regional efficiency standards and take sole responsibility for the future sale and or installation of this unit. We now have the opportunity to give you all these tools and make these compliance issues a no-brainer. As you know, in the back end of Fixify, we have a disclosure section. This is where you put all of your legal terms and conditions to show on the bottom or the last page of the summary. We've already taken these steps so that we can be prepared to update in real time all of your compliance needs and make it literally the click of a button. You can mass communicate changes to consumers by utilizing your push notification tools inside Fixify. Communicating with the customers on these regulatory changes that they're coming, and once they're in place is going to be as easy as the push of a button, and we've prepared suggested language that will be available to you in your Fixify marketing center. So we're on the cusp of a new economy, and with this onset comes a new plan of action to thrive. Technology that elevates the consumer experience is the only path forward. Artificial intelligence, machine learning, and smart data adaptation are the answer. So what's your roadmap for the new economy? What's your strategy for taking on these new challenges and the new shifting regulations, these new shifting trends? How will you be capitalizing, and not just in a way to survive, but to do it in a way that you actually thrive in this new economy? Well, we believe that Fixify will be the line in the sand between contractors that don't and contractors that do.